We are 27 minutes into record time, and we have made it about 30 seconds into this.
I can talk about pre-code movies a lot.
I remember in my early youth, I trod the primrose path on the Great White Way. There I learned the bitter truth that all women of the theater were chiselers, parasites, or as we call them, gold diggers.
So we're doing something new today on Midnight Local. First off, what's the movie we're talking about, Meredith?
We are talking about Gold Diggers of 1933.
You got to specify that because there was numerous sequels, none of which are equal to the first one.
Oh, there are?
Yeah, Gold Diggers of like 35, Gold Diggers of 36 or 37. Like they did multiples of these. I've seen two. Like they're very forgettable. Well, they're not very forgettable. They have the same wonderful cast for the most part.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, but
where do you go from here?
More shows, more antics from gals.
They're all partnered up at the end of
it's the same problem that all movies like that would have, where it's like, oh, you needed to make another one for the money. There was no sequel necessary though. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good cast though.
Mm-hmm. It's
amazing
like,
cast.
It's like it's an incredible cast, which is why I wanted to cue it up into, we're doing a new thing maybe where we can actually watch the movie a little bit while we're actually doing the show, which is going to help me keep my shit together, even though I've seen these movies 1,000 times.
I know you've got a leg up on me for this one. I didn't really write down a play-by-play of it, but
I'm obsessed with this movie.
Yeah, I know you've seen it a lot, so I was gonna lean on you for the play-by-play.
I love this movie, and I love the opening scene of this movie so much. It's got to be, to me, one of the best movie openers around. It's one of the best ones around.
Play it up.
Numbers created and directed by Busby Berkley. So that's an important thing. I love Busby Berkley musicals. Mm-hmm. They are the best musicals, despite what Meredith may believe. I have no idea what your opinion is on them. I just know that you've got opinions about musicals.
Yeah, and there's been some wonderful things post the 1930s and 40s. And
I suppose
I don't know. I guess he was directing for a while.
Possible. But I have not yet confirmed it. But he didn't direct whole movies except for maybe once or twice. He was like the guy that came in and like, we're handing over the reins now to Busby Berkley for the musical number in the film.
Right.
So this is directed by Mervyn LeRoy, who is like a stalwart Warner Brothers pre-code, snappy, sassy, cynical director. I love his movies. And then Busby takes the reins for the musical parts.
Yeah, which was kind of an after. I think because of the success of 42nd Street, they were like, might as well make it a musical. They threw 4 musical numbers into it.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was an afterthought, but I don't know like at which stage. It doesn't sound like they filmed it and then threw them in. No, they were thrown in before filming.
That sounds right. I love 42nd Street, but it is one of the harder ones to follow in the pantheon of Busby Berkley pre-code musicals.
Well,
there's some plot jumps in there.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the plot of 42nd Street. Like, I mean, you watch 42nd Street for the tap dancing mostly.
Tap it.
Mm-hmm. They've got some phenomenal tap dancing, which is wonderful. I don't know. Did he choreograph 42nd Street?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, and directed. By the way, like he didn't just choreograph, like he was the camera, like he was the director. In fact, Warner Brothers has the Busby Berkley soundstage, which was a pre-existing soundstage that they lifted like 30 feet into the air and built new walls under, so it would be that much higher. And it's still there, yeah, because of his like famous top-down shots. How do you get that? You need to have your camera like 100 fucking feet in the air to do that.
Yeah, which was very difficult with their cameras back then, which were giant monstrosities.
They were, but keep in mind these are MOS, so they weren't blimped or anything like that.
Sure.
He would have been filming on 35 millimeter, Browning silent film cameras. I think that would have been around the studio.
Well, and for our podcasters listening who aren't seeing clips of some of his work, if you can think of the famous like kaleidoscope shots, black and white kaleidoscope, that is Busby Berkley.
Hundreds of beautiful dancing girls.
Yes, exactly, the showgirls. And you mentioned this, I went back and watched, you've done a How to Drink episode about this movie.
Yeah. And
you mentioned that another staple of his choreography was the lineup shots.
The parade of
face
faces.
The parade of faces. That's what it's called.
The parade of faces. I love it.
Which had an ulterior motive.
Yeah, it all does. It all does.
Yeah.
I love it. So this is the Depression. And I mean, this is a movie. Okay, I guess we're going right there before we even get past his title card. Fine. This movie is of the Depression and about the Depression explicitly. And I mean, like, that sounds like it's like, I don't know why, but that sounds like the way people use literally now, where you mean figuratively. So I'm not even going to say explicitly.
Explicitly?
Yeah. When I say explicitly, I mean, these are characters who live in the Depression, are thinking about the Depression, are worried about the Depression. They're putting on a show about the Depression.
For an audience that's also in the Depression.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why, when that came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, they don't mean explicitly. They mean figuratively or secretly. No, it's explicitly about the Depression. But yeah, so, you know, you would show up if you were in a chorus girl or like a day player or whatever. You'd show up at the office down at the studio and hope that they called, you know, hey, I need 15 cowboys. Who could be a cowboy? And they'd throw up your hand and you get your day rate. Otherwise, you were just sitting around in the work office eating your sandwich and doing the crossword puzzle and hoping for work. So when Busby was on the set, he would go down and be like, I need 300 dancing girls. Nice. And he would put all these people to fucking work, which was great. Then, because of the Screen Actors Guild, he would give as many of them fucking close-ups as he could, because that gave him a pay bump.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, and this movie was big budget for the time, $433,000.
Yeah.
And it made it all back.
I'm just imagining
2.2 million domestically and $1 million foreign.
Huge.
So yeah,
I can't imagine too the bean counters just being like, Busby and his close-ups, his fucking close-ups.
He did have fights with the studios over budgets quite a lot. It sounds like,
he was a cantankerous bastard. It sounds like too.
Yeah, reading through the lines a little bit. I mean, he struggled with depression and alcoholism for sure.
Car accidents.
He liked his martini in the bathtub, from what I read. Yeah, did you read through? I'm reading through some lines thinking that
he's married like 5 or 6 times, I think, too.
No, I don't. Okay, so that's what I was looking for. I don't see him married once.
No, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on, now I gotta look it up. You thought he was gay?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you would.
I mean,
personal life. Married 6 times. His wives included Myrna Kennedy, Esther Muir, the starlet Claire James, and Etta Dunn, who survived him. He was married so many times they don't even list all of his wives. He was involved in an alienation of affections lawsuit in 1938 involving Carol Landis, and he was engaged to Lorraine Stein. Drank heavily, often having martinis in his daily bath. In 35, he was responsible for a car crash in which 2 people were killed and 5 seriously injured. Badly cut and bruised. He was brought to court on a stretcher, where Time reported he heard testimony that made him wince.
Not great.
Yep. And he attempted suicide.
Yeah.
So he had a hard time. I think he lived in a lot of pain because, if I'm not mistaken, his supposed, I don't know if this is true or not, but like his inspiration for the Kaleidoscope film dancing was because he was on convalescence at Walter Reed on like the 5th floor at the hospital, watching men drill on the parade ground, because he was in the army, and was like, I'm gonna make it in Hollywood with that, or I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But like, apparently that was the inspiration.
Yeah, it entered into his work.
So he must have been wounded there. All right, let's actually get through the opening of this fucking movie.
Let's take a look at some of his work.
This sure has been his title card. Also, Harry Warren and Al Dubin, famous music and lyricists, certainly of the time, maybe more so forgotten now. I don't know. Gowns by Ori Kelly. All right, I got to stop again.
Okay.
Ori Kelly is a name you're going to find a lot. Ori Kelly was an Australian gown fashion designer who did the gown work in movies. And it's really funny because, straight as I am, I now look for Ori Kelly's name and note that, like, there it is, the refined lines of an Ori Kelly gown, not so-and-so's ridiculous frou-frou. There's a great documentary about Ori. What a weird name, by the way, Ori-Kelly.
Yeah.
That is not
and
a first not a first name. That is a moniker, like Madonna. He is Ori Kelly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And boyfriend to Archibald Leach, better known as Cary Grant. They were cohabitants for a number of years. Cary Grant, gay, just in case you were wondering. That's just a fact. And I think him and Rock Hudson shacked up for a little while there. But just two pals about town living together in Hollywood.
Sorry, roommates.
Lots of pool parties at the... Yeah, there you have it. Ori
Sorry,
Kelly.
I'm looking at some of his gowns. Fantastic.
Yeah. Really knew how to make a gown for black and white cinematography. I always think it's interesting. Okay, we're right into it. I was to say... Oh, this is still title sequence.
Yeah.
When you see in these old movies dialogue by, the way that they were written... dialogue by, you'd get a dialogue credit. That's why it's so snappy. They would bring in like dialogue specialists, and when I say bring in, they would knock on their door and wake them out of a drunken smoke-filled haze. Well, boys, we got some work for you.
And these musicals don't feel written as musicals as other musicals do. Like, the numbers aren't necessarily for the story. They are injected into the movie as... Yes. Like, they fit into the plot because they're putting on a show, very much like White Christmas.
So, and that's one of the things I think is so interesting, too, about these, and thank you, by the way, that the music is diegetic. The actors are hearing it. It is in the scene.
Right.
But in the fashion of all of these Busby Berkley musical numbers, you start there and then leap into a fantasy realm. Like... The scene transitions from diegetic to non-diegetic in the context of the film. We haven't gotten it yet because we haven't watched Footlight Parade, but the By a Waterfall scene, which is very famous, it's the one that was immortalized on the Great Movie Ride. It couldn't be more obvious that was intentional, because like they start on a stage and then they are in the woods. Like, the stage vanishes.
Fantasy. Yeah. Okay. Well, and that's like Singing in the Rain has like a 20-minute dance number that does that. Yep. American in Paris, he's got like a half-hour ballet at the end of that. They're just like completely leave the movie into a ballet and then come back in, which this does it better, I'd say. It's like, it's not a whole chunk half of the movie or back half of the movie. It's like built in vignettes without. Singing or not.
Singing in the Rain has a couple of great ones, and I wanted
but those are built into the story. Like they break into song. This is choreographed numbers that they happen to be performing in.
Yes, but there is one, oh God, we should do Singing in the Rain now so I can talk about this. But there's a scene in Singing in the Rain that stops me in my tracks every single time, and it's the Beautiful Girls number.
Beautiful Girls.
Because in that scene, it is switching between diegetic and non-diegetic reality, like on a dime.
Oh,
and
funny.
You don't even notice. It's fucking masterful. It starts, and we're talking about a completely different movie now, but that's what we do on Midnight Logo. It starts.
You never know where we're going to go.
It starts like we're in the number, right? Because we've been going through, that caps off the like the dawn of sound number, and all of that. You don't see any film crews, right? You're seeing that like it's happening, like it's real. You get to Beautiful Girls. It's happening. It's real. But then... okay, you cut across the room and the studio head comes in and they're watching, so-and-so's in this number, right? And then it cuts back and now you can see all of the equipment. It's now behind the scenes, but we haven't missed a beat. It went straight from... we're in the world of this Beautiful Girls movie to now we're outside of the world of the Beautiful Girls movie. It goes back into the world of the Beautiful Girls movie where the crane and the sound equipment, everything disappears. And then we cut back, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, to the studio head's office saying, "That's great, guys." Like, it's fucking...
Yeah. I mean, you're recording the whole time, but you're right. It's like, you kind of go in and out of the movie.
It's on the
list.
My
gosh, the dress sequence when she's changing outfits.
We're gonna watch that movie now.
We've gone from schlock to pre-code and one of the most famous movies of all time, Singing in the Rain.
Sure, I don't care. It's movies you haven't seen. That's the idea. Midnight Local is often going to just be movies you have forgotten or haven't seen.
Yeah. Have people forgotten Singing in the Rain?
I think so. I think so. I think that, I mean, not forgotten, but I mean, like, somebody had to show it to you. Okay, here we go. Always wonderful to see Ned Sparks. He's got that great, fantastic, I'm a hard-nosed producer voice. I'm Ned Sparks, and I'm chewing a cigar. Parade of faces, parade of faces. Beautiful girls in gowns by Ori Kelly.
Oh, the Pig Latin. This is one of the famous pieces of trivia about this movie, that she was goofing off on set singing Pig Latin. They're like, do it in the movie.
Yes, Pig Latin, very popular in the Great Depression. Second verse of this, we have Ginger Rogers come out with one of the most titillating eye rolls I've ever seen in my life. I'm a leerer. I don't know what to tell you. God damn, that eye roll gets under my skin every time. What a babe.
Why is Pig Latin popular? I just thought that was like a schoolyard.
People had no fucking money. People were sitting on top of
making up
flagpoles, you know, like Flagpole City was popular. I'm going to walk backwards through America was popular. There was nothing to do. So people were coming up with shit like Pig Latin. I don't know. It was a phase. Fad. Why the fuck was Pogs popular? Who knows? I love that they can't even hold the focus. They're punching in so tight.
Well, you kind of get the feeling that they were sort of filming this, not sure if they were going to use it. It would either come out and be a funny joke and went a little out of focus. They're like, it's good, use it.
Busby loses focus all the time. Yeah, it's just the nature.
He's doing really difficult stuff.
You punched in. This close-up is insane. Mm-hmm. We are inside of her chin at this point, and we just came in from a fucking waist up or hips up body shot.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work for a lens in 1933.
Oh yeah,
and for an operator
who's literally racking focus as the camera moves.
Right. I don't know if they would have had a follow focus yet. You're probably right. He's probably racking focus on the lens. So for those who don't know, a follow focus is a geared attachment that attaches to the lens so that instead of wrapping your hand around the lens, you have a lever on the side that pushes forward and back. It's not a radical difference, but it does make it a little bit easier, and then it does give you the opportunity for an assistant camera operator to pull focus for you.
Now you can do it with such precision because you're sitting on your own screen across the room with a little dialing in as things move, you know. But these guys, they were standing her there saying the camera is like, she's standing here. The camera is going to go from here to here in the shot.
Right.
And you had someone measure point 1.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And make marks on the lens. And as we move, you
try to do it because
there was setting up these shots took a while, and lighting is a factor as well.
I don't know what you're right, because I don't know what camera they're on. I did just say they would have been filming these probably on MOS cameras like from the silent era, and because typically in a musical you don't record live sound. They may have been rack over, as in, okay, so here we go again. Reflex cameras. So we can talk about technology till I am blue in the face. Yeah. So when you have a film camera, here's how
wasted my knowledge. So I'll just sit and listen.
You wasted your knowledge. What do you mean?
That's it. That was the extent of my knowledge on this topic. So
no, but you include. I forgot about this, right? So okay, so if you ever hear the expression twin lens reflex or single lens reflex, SLR stands for single lens reflex. It is because the camera's a reflex. So how is it possible for you to look into the back of a camera and out the lens that is going to take the picture? The entire back of that lens has to be filled with film in order for it to expose. Well, what you're looking through is like a little prism, a periscope that bounces the light. So the light comes into the camera and it hits a mirror. That mirror deflects the light up into a prism that goes into your eye. When you take the picture, that mirror gets out of the way. So that's a reflex camera. It just, that's like the sound. It's not just the shutter. It's the actual mirror moving out of the way. If you're a photographer, you know this. If you're not, you don't. But like without having a sensor that you can actually just like take the video feed from, that's how you look through a camera. Well, in a film camera, in a motion picture camera, that's a little bit harder to pull off. They put the mirror on the back of the shutter, which is actually a spinning disc, which is why in cinema, you measure shutter speed, not by speed, like in 60th of a second or 50th of a second, but by degrees. Am I using a 180 degree shutter? Am I using a 45 degree shutter? How much of my shutter is open? Because your actual shutter exposure time is controlled by your frame rate, right? So if it's a 180 degree shutter on 24 frames a second, you're shooting at 48th of a second. But if we go to 120 frames a second because we're shooting slow motion, now you're on a 240 frame 240th of a second exposure time, you need a hell of a lot more light. Anyway, sorry.
We are 27 minutes into record time, and we have made it about 30 seconds into this.
I can talk about pre-code movies a lot.
Well, I think what else happens is like you're watching people learn how to do all of this. Like so watching someone like Busby Berkley is like he's constantly achieving things that nobody's ever tried before. It's got a playfulness to it. It's got a like, why can't we put the camera on the ceiling? Like, and then you think through what it took to do that at this time, and it's like,
I'm gonna counter you. I'm gonna Uno reverse you. I don't think you're seeing somebody do something that nobody had figured out before. Well, I do. But I think you're seeing something that nobody has figured out since.
Oh, well, maybe. I mean, one of the things that he said was to never like achieve the same thing twice. Like he was always trying to expand what he could do as far as like, and he's choreographing the camera and the movement.
Absolutely.
A lot of, especially once the code is out of, I don't know why it kind of goes to, in the 40s and 50s, it very much feels like you're just filming
taped theater,
theater, right? And maybe that's a money thing, maybe, I don't know. And of course there's exceptions to that. There's noir, there's people making cool shit all the time, but I don't know. The choreography of this takes theater and is like, now you're in it. Now you're one of the dancers. Now you're moving with the characters.
The camera becomes character. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that when I say that, like, too, that you haven't seen people do it since, I think that what we're hitting on here is that the technology of the time was so unforgiving, was so limiting, that you needed to truly be a master of that craft and to know it inside and out and to know how to push it to its limits in a way that, like, a race car driver does. You know, when they talk about driving 10 out of 10 of your car, bringing it right to the envelope of the limits of traction and control and not killing yourself. It takes a level of expertise that I don't think the modern industry demands. I don't think you need it.
It certainly does not.
I mean, even if we were talking about Singing in the Rain, like, where the fuck is Gene Kelly today? Not that we need another ornery bastard like Gene Kelly today, but like, you could not make those movies anymore. For so many reasons. Look at this, though. This is fucking fantastic. I don't know if In the Money was in the musical vernacular at the time or if this was the first time anybody ever heard it.
I was curious about that, too.
I don't know. I think but let's say that it was the first time it heard it. It's certainly what made it famous and enduring. It may be new to you to know this, but the song is sung in irony. They are not in the money. In fact, in the very next moment, the sheriff's office is coming in and foreclosing on the show and ripping the costumes off the dancers.
Literally, in the most cartoonish way possible, like making people stand up and taking the chairs that they're sitting on.
The line, oh my God, Aline McMahon is so fucking funny. I love her to death. But like, this costume's got to go back to the whatever house when the sheriff is trying to take over. That's as far back as it goes, mister.
Yeah.
So good, man.
Well, because the reason the sheriff has come in is because they have missed payments. They are not paying for the rental of the theater, I assume?
Rental of the theater, back
costumes.
payments on the costumes, the production design. Everything is being seized and sold off.
Yeah.
And our Ned Sparks, and I forget the character's name, but the actor is Ned Sparks, and he's wonderful too. There were such big characters and character actors, you know, and they played the type. Like, Ned Sparks is always playing Ned Sparks in these movies, but every time he shows up, I'm like, oh, thank God Ned Sparks is in this movie. We've flashed forward now. We have the girls are at home, and there's a letter under the door from the landlady asking about that back rent, signed landlady.
Just absolutely the nicest, most lovely letter asking for payment.
Girls, sorry to bother you 3 stars, but how about that rent, landlady?
Which also, I guess, suggests that, like, everyone's just kind of like, I know the answer to this question, but it is my job to ask it. And if I was going to kick you out, I would have done it already.
Yeah, can we all help each other out here a little bit? So then we open on our 3 girls sharing a bed. And trying to wake up Broadway babies who've been out till 3 a.m.
Yes, exactly. Tired, makeupless, hair disheveled.
The setup is this rapid fire quipping dialogue that is so good, this patter that tells you everything about their situation and their character without And like explicitly, like in the way that like you would expect exposition to suck in some ways. I mean, like the only way you could beat someone over the head with this harder, in my opinion, is with like, once upon a time, there were 3 girls who lived in New York City.
Seeing this as a female, this jump to this scene with the 3 girls in bed in this disheveled way, like even my childhood, you weren't really seeing women portrayed this way. I mean, this reminds me of like Broad City, you know? They're just like the way that they're quipping at each other, the way that they are friends. Like they have each other's backs. They are not competing with one another. They're not proper. They're not waking up with a full face of makeup.
Film passes the Bechdel test.
Oh, absolutely. Immediately. Almost. Yeah. And right. They're not talking about men. I mean, we lost this there was the 30 years, but then all of the years after that it took us to get back to understanding that women had agency. And interests of their own. Which is why the Bechdel test exists, which for people who don't know that, I'm going to mess up the exact guidelines, but basically the movie, to pass the Bechdel test, the movie has to have a scene between 2 women where they are not talking about men.
2 women whose names where they are discussing something other than a man or men.
You will be shocked to realize still today how few movies pass this test. In the entirety of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, there is 1 line spoken between 2 females at all, and it is a daughter asking her mother for like breakfast or something.
They added female, like there are no women in the book. They added women to the movie. I know,
but I'm just saying, like as an example, like in the 12 hours of cinema that exists there, 2 women never speak.
That is true. That is true. And what's for breakfast? You know, we're all in this depression together, but we're not above stealing the milk from the neighbor.
And this is something they do all the time. Also, have we any table? It's just like my grandfather always told stories about the Depression, and it would be common for people to cut up furniture and use it as firewood to keep warm. So have we any table is to me likely referring to the fact that people did that.
In truth, they have a very large apartment with a piano and many nice furnishings, and it's well kept and clean. Ginger Rogers comes in, tells us that Barney's putting on a new show. Who are our girls, by the way? Ginger Rogers, Ruby Keeler, Joan Be Still My Heart Blondell, and Aline McMahon, who, I mean, just...
Was she more of a character actress?
Who?
At the time? Aline McMahon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she plays the snappy, gals decide that one of them needs to go down there and make sure that they all get jobs in the show. Who's got a dress?
Well, that's actually, I think that's the reason that they send one, isn't it? Because they only can like muster up a dress for one of the 3 of them, and they can't go looking in shambles. They have to look nice to get the part.
You know, Barney, you've got to show up looking modish.
Yeah.
Modish being, I think, of the fashion of the time.
Yeah.
Truth be told, Barney shows up at their place.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, and tells them, I'm putting on a show, but I have no money.
It's exactly right.
It's a show for the common man, a show for the people, about the Depression, about people starving, people walking on their stomachs, marching.
And he gets them all excited. Like he sounds like he's got money, and then that's the rug is sort of pulled at the last second.
Only hitch is that I need $250,000, $25,000, I think. Actually.
It's like 10, but it's the equivalent of $250,000 now.
Ruby Keeler's got a crush on Dick Powell, just across the way, whom I think in real life would actually marry Joan Blondell for a while. Dick Powell is in all of these movies, always playing against Ruby Keeler. They were kind of a duo in that regard. He's like, I think in some movies he even makes the joke that he's the perpetual juvenile. He always...
Yeah, there was a joke about it on set, and it was an insult that I had written down because it struck me when they said, "You permanent juvenile," sort of said to each other, but that was a joke on set between the 2 of them.
And in the musical world of the time, like, who's playing the juvenile? Like, you know, you had those parts. Who's the tenor?
Yeah. I think at this point he was saying he'd been a juvenile for 18 years or something.
Yeah. He is a songwriter who lives across the way, and the girls love listening to his music. And he's
very talented. Yeah.
Yeah. They bring him over to show off his songs to Barney, who needs music for the show. And he loves the songs. And we get our first inkling of my forgotten man here, and Barney's explaining, this is the anthem my show needs. This is it right here. Marching men looking for work. Only we don't have the money to put on the show, but that's okay because our intrepid pianist songwriter man is gonna foot the bill. He can get the money for you.
Brad Roberts. He pulls Polly aside. I forget, is it implied that they like know each other already, or are they meeting for the first time?
They're neighbors. They live in the same building.
Okay. They've exchanged pleasantries at least.
Yeah, exactly. And she's definitely had a crush on him and his music for a while.
Yeah, and they're kind of flirting, and she's very surprised.
They're window flirts.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with window flirts?
No. But I can
made it up.
I live in New York City. You got the idea.
Window flirting. I like to watch you undress. You like to watch me undress.
The tin cans through the window. But yeah, so he says, he's very casually, if I remember, says that he can get them $10,000. And she's like, what do you do that you can do that? And don't they kind of assume that he's like dealing drugs or doing something illegal?
They assume he's lying. They tell him, you're lying. This isn't funny. Don't joke. People's jobs are at stake. And he says, no, honest, I can get the money. I can't give it to you today. I can't write you a check here. Let me get you cash tomorrow. Because he starts out, he's going to write the check. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute. I better bring you cash. And like, okay, you're putting us on. Yeah. And he's like, no. I'll be at the office tomorrow morning at whatever o'clock. And then so we cut to the office and everybody's given up, like, fuck, it's not gonna happen. Meanwhile, the bootlegger comes in because he heard somebody was getting paid and he thought he could sell some booze, and comes in with his little violin case, and just as they're about to give up, he shows up with the cash and the bootlegger is very happy. They all have a good drink. I love the cynicism of it. I love it. Yeah. Like there's a bootlegger, like we are telling the honest earth salt of the shit stories of like the hard scrabble life of the Depression, and everybody's trying to make a buck, but also like, you didn't get paid. Okay, let me know when you get paid. I'll be back with my booze then. No hard feelings. So we have the money for the show, and now they do think he's probably a bank robber or a criminal. Okay, so the show is now in rehearsals. We've got the money. We've got a budding romance between
Polly and Brad. Well, we got to talk about Petting in the Park.
What do we got to say about it?
I mean, it's like there's nudity in it.
Is that one have nudity?
More or less. I mean, so also we get who we've mentioned on the podcast before, we get Billy Barty, got like black actors in the chorus, like they throw it all in here. And the whole joke of the song is like, how far is too far?
All right, let's
see. A little touch here, a little touch there.
This is our first real Busby number. Mm-hmm. This is the first one because you don't really get the full buzz in Gold.
No, we get shut down before we get there. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the full buzzer. Now that's it. We're into Busby world. We're slipping away from the theater and into a sub-reality, a fantasy.
And there he is. There's Billy Barty.
I think in his first appearance.
Oh, really?
I think this is it, unless he's in 42nd Street. Billy Barty is a little person and actually pioneered the use of the term little person. He is the reason why little person is in the vernacular. He was an actor who worked from this day till the day he died. Yeah. He's actually a child here, but he would continue to play children for a number of years.
Yeah, shows up as late as was he in the Pee Wee Herman movie? Where did we?
He's in UHF.
That's it. But
he's also in Masters of the Universe. In the 80s. He is Figment on the Journey into Imagination, the original, not the current incarnation of it at Epcot. He's a lot of voices. He worked all the way throughout. He was a big advocate for little people. He was not in The Wizard of Oz. He was too young.
How? Because this is 33.
Oh, you're right. Maybe he's just... I forget why he's not in The Wizard of Oz, but I do know that he's not in The Wizard of Oz. Sorry. I thought
wasn't a big enough role for him, maybe.
That could be. Yeah. He's always very naughty baby in these movies, shooting spitballs at the cops. You know what I love about these musicals, Meredith?
What?
No piano.
Why do you hate the piano?
It's too modern for a musical. I don't like it. I want my musicals to have a big brass orchestra.
It's probably there. It's a little bit understated by the orchestra.
I don't think so at all.
Like, there's always a piano in a jazz band. It's just sort of like the bass instead of the main event.
Fine. Whatever. I don't like your stripped down musical that's led by piano. I don't like it. I don't want it. I want you to have a 30-piece orchestra.
What musical in particular are you thinking of?
Rent and which one? The Witch.
Wicked?
Wicked. It's all piano musical. I don't like it. I'm going to use a lot of my 30s voice in this episode.
Yeah, sure.
I don't like it. It sounds tawdry, cheap.
Sure. Rent was like a rock musical. It wasn't.
I don't like a rock musical.
You want one type of thing.
Jazz
you want it
musicals.
to reflect. Yeah, sure.
Give me the jazz.
If it doesn't make you feel nostalgic.
Yes. Actually, I just like that music.
Sure.
I listen to a lot of jazz.
Yeah.
All right. So it's raining now in our musical number, and the girls are running into a 2-story colonnade to change. Of course, modest they are. They put down the screen, and we get everything in
full
silhouette.
Yeah.
And I mean everything.
Literally everything.
Oh, yeah, man.
Billy
Body, our naughty boy, comes out in his yellow slicker and with a wink to the audience begins lifting the curtains. Ooh.
His eyes.
Oh, we're too late. This is the premiere of the show. At this point, our juvenile is actually backstage drunk.
He goes on because the lead is too nervous to go on.
Yes. Robert Treat Bradford, Boston Blue Blood, found incognito in Broadway musical show. And now the girls know that he's a bajillionaire. So Brad's brother is the executor of the estate here, calls Brad back to the Boston Gentlemen's Club here and tells him, you're going to have to quit the whole thing and you're going to have to not date that girl. And he's like, well, fuck you. I'm doing whatever I want. He goes, well, I'm going to cut you off. Brad's like, I'm going to do it anyway.
They kind of let the theater thing go. Fine. If you're going to do that, you're going to do that. And it's the bigger issue is that he's also fallen in love with one of the showgirls, Polly Parker. And that is an absolute hard line. No,
right.
He will lose his inheritance. I control your money till you're 30. If you go through with this marriage, I'm not giving you your money. And then we sort of go off into the older guy's head, into Guy Kibbe's head.
Yeah.
As he tells this longing tale of the showgirl that he had a relationship with once. But
I love the side eye Warren William gives him there. He's just like, where is this going?
Yeah, but he's just like the performative nature of we're too good for this, but only because of our place in society. We all wish we could have the showgirl, but you don't marry her.
The cynicism is right there. This guy's still in love with this girl.
Oh yeah, very much so. Best time of his life.
And
you have everything. You're as rich as you can be. You can do whatever you want, but you still have the constraints of class.
The money's got to stay in the building. We can't go bringing in these lower class girls, because then the money filters out. It's got to stay in the building. Brad's brother leaves the club in a huff, and against the advisement of Guy Kibbe, goes running to the apartment. I've got to see this girl. I've got to see her. We're going to talk her out of it. Because at the time...
we're going to pay her out of it.
Well, yeah, because if you had promised to marry a girl and you didn't marry her, she could sue you for breach of promise because presumably she had given up her value to you and ruined herself for a profitable marriage there forevermore. So they want to know how much money basically to settle out of a breach of promise suit if he doesn't marry you. The irony, of course, and I don't normally like these moments, but like, I guess the idea here is that she is so against type, well-versed in the dictates of polite conversation, that she never manages to explain to him, or does not manage to explain to him, I'm not her, before they're far enough along in this conversation that she loses all interest in explaining I am not her.
Yeah, I actually read that. Yeah, she tries several times and he keeps talking over her and refuses to listen. So she says, fine, say what you're going to say.
Yeah.
And then as he's saying it, realizes that she can use it against him, or there's some sort of game here. They have no respect for these people, and it just becomes funny for them. It becomes a game.
I pause on that because actually it's Trixie, Aline McMahon's character, who jumps out of the bath and sees the opportunity for fun in this. Trixie's a little more cynical than Carol. Trixie says, these guys are jack-offs. Let's take them for a ride.
Yeah, they don't get to treat you like that.
Right. Carol's less inclined, but she says, I got this. She orders up a hat that she's not going to pay for. The hat comes up. She's about to send it back saying, oh, thank you, but I just can't right now. And of course, Fanny is obligated to pay, as a gentleman would. And there she gets, I think it's like a $500 hat.
$75.
Oh. But
in exchange rate, it's certainly like $1,000 hat or something like that.
It's an absurdly expensive hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they double the ante, and now Carol's going to order her hat. Her hat, of course, delivered by Sterling Hollowell. Hollowell or Holloway?
Holloway.
Sterling Holloway. Very famous character actor of the era. Also very famous for providing the voice of Winnie the Pooh.
Well, somewhere.
Let me see the bill.
Bill? Yes, sir.
Also openly gay in Hollywood at that time.
You could hear the voice too when he speaks, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like it's just so recognizable.
It's Winnie the Pooh. He did a lot of voices too. He was also, I think, the stork in Dumbo. Yeah. He did
a lot of work with Walt Disney.
Yeah, a lot of Walt Disney work. Proving that Disney didn't care about your proclivities.
Sleepy in the Seven Dwarfs. Flower in Bambi.
Oh, I didn't know he was working with Disney that early on. Jeez.
Yeah.
The gals decide to take these fellas for a ride. They're going to show them exactly the kind of girls they think them to be, only to reveal later that, like, you're an asshole. Like, that's not at all what was going on. You made assumptions that we took advantage of because you're dummies. So Carol pretend Polly is flirting it up with Brad's brother, as if two-timing Brad, and Trixie is flirting with old Fanny here for all he's worth. This goes on throughout the rest of the show, this pretend romance, which of course is evolving into a real romance, where they're dragging them along. So they present the plan to Brad, and Brad actually loves it. He's like, I think this is fantastic. Put the screws to him. The plan is to present herself as Polly, who's a two-timing whore, who's willing to flouts abound with whoever's got the money. So she's putting herself off on Brad or on Brad's brother. Brad's brother is like, don't you want to dance with your girlfriend? And Brad's like, no, fuck her.
Yeah, right.
And then this other girl, who's the real Polly, they make her seem like she's this fallen from grace blue blood. She's going to tell this fictitious story about her upbringing, about, you know, who her parents were, but they left her an orphan and she had to make her own way. And now Brad's brother, who I will only call Brad's brother or Warren William, because I'm not going to learn one more goddamn name for this movie, is like, what's wrong with her, Brad? She's amazing. If you want to marry a showgirl, here's the one right here.
Yeah,
That's the whole idea. And so they'll just get them married under false names, and then at some point, I guess, reveal it later.
Right. So at this party, he gets drunk. They go home. While they're about to kiss, or they kiss, he falls asleep on the couch. Trixie comes home, says we could take this a step further, puts him in her bed. And then the brother comes in, and he has a funny line about how he's going to learn some lessons that are going to make him a better man or something.
That's the moment when he doubles down. He's like, I think this is fucking great.
Yeah. He's like, he's going to learn how to deal with the possibility of being one of these people who's done something below his class, and what it feels like to mess up and be a human.
You're going to wake up a kinder and a wiser man.
And I think that that's actually like the heart of this movie too, right? Like this is the subversive secrets of the Warner Brothers pre-code movies. This is, listen, we can bring these people low. They're just like us underneath the veneer.
The classism is performative. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Like, we all want the same things. We all have the same desires.
Yes. The same fears.
Yes.
The same everything. In this depression movie. Here are these people who are unaffected by the depression, but there's no reason that they shouldn't be unaffected by the depression. They're not actually better than you. They're just richer.
Yeah, well, and the brother being like, you have all this money. Go have fun. Enjoy your life. Like, he's out there. Yeah. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to marry who I want. Why do I have all this money if I can't do that? He's not so worried about appearances.
I do give them credit, though, because, like, you know, Brad's like, listen, I put all these kids to work, and, like, if I back out of the show now, they're going to lose their jobs. Now,
he understands that as well, yeah.
And his brother is like, you're right, of course, absolutely. Like, we wouldn't want to do that. So, like, they're not total scumbags.
No, I think they're actually played probably much more nicer than real people like this would have been. They're sweet guys all the way through. Fanuel, or whatever his name is, Guy Kibbe's character, he's also given up on the appearances. He's kind of too old to care, and
he's begging to be taken advantage of.
Oh, yeah.
Know? Some of them.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't need to be convinced.
Yeah, he's
got the money.
Some of them want to abuse you. Some of them want to be abused by you.
Very nice.
Thus quote Annie Lennox. But yeah, Carol she gets really squeamish about the we're going to make this guy think he slept with you move. She doesn't like that. And it's not for personal reasons. She doesn't like the implication. It's not that she dislikes the implication for herself. She just thinks it's far too cruel. This is monstrous.
Yeah, we're ruining this guy's life. She's like, well, she does like him. And
I think that's it. I think she actually kind of likes him. Yeah.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
The hard thing to believe is that Trixie seems to actually like Guy Kibbe. The movie proving that looks are not everything. Because as nice a fella as Guy Kibbe was, like a looker he was not.
But she is the more cynical one, and she says many times, like that whole scene where she's like, I just want a driver, and I want fur coats, and I want, like, she is a gold digger.
But she seems like she'd be a very appreciative gold digger.
Yeah, he's
an honest gold digger, a loyal gold digger. She's not going to sleep around on him. That's the vibe I get.
Guy Kibbe seems completely fine with this arrangement. Yeah.
They're all in.
He just wants to be flirted with a little bit, a little hand on the knee under the table.
Who doesn't want a hand on the knee under the table, Meredith? Who doesn't? Okay.
So, okay, did we miss the violins with the
electric violins?
Yeah, with the lights.
No, because a lot of these
are there two musical numbers at the end?
Yeah, like back to back. A lot of these Berkeley musicals, like the numbers are kind of stacked up. There'd be like one mid film, and then a bunch more at the end. In Footlight Parade, it's literally just like, and the last 45 minutes of the movie are the musical numbers.
Yeah, that's Singing in the Rain. That's American in Paris. Yeah, okay.
He's horrified, and
they go off and get married.
And that's when Warren Williams,
that night,
he finds out he's been played.
Yeah,
that's how he puts it all together. Oh, it's right there in the news.
Her picture.
No, we're looking at it. It says she married Polly Parker. He married Polly Parker with the picture. I have not been flouncing around with Polly Parker. It occurs to me that I use the word flouncing incorrectly. I've not been floozying around with Polly Parker. They've been having it at me. Oh, I've been tricked. All right. So
when we get to the final,
we get to our final numbers here. Shadows on the Wall and My Forgotten Man. So 3 big numbers in this movie. 4, actually, because I always forget about in the money.
The violins are incredible. That's so cool.
So, okay, yeah. We get to this number, this Busby number, In the Shadows, I think it's called. It's one of our 2 closing numbers here. And we got our chorines, our beautiful dancing girls, are now playing violins with neon lights on them. And we dim the stage lights, and now we've got the girls dancing in the dark, lit only by these neon violins. What a crazy thing.
It's crazy. What makes this even crazier is that I guess while they were shooting this, there was an earthquake.
Oh.
Have you read this story?
I don't know about the earthquake.
Yeah, so one telling of it has Busby falling off of his platform and hanging on by one arm and pulling himself back up and telling all the girls on platform, sit down, until they could open like a stage door to get some light in there because it was all dark because they were shooting the scene with the violins.
I do know this too. The girls were getting electrocuted by these violins on a regular. So, you take it
getting shot at, getting electrocuted.
Well, I mean, you might take things. Yeah, exactly. You might take things for granted, like batteries and LEDs, but true neon lights are gas-charged glass tubes that need a transformer to operate. And so, somewhere on those girls is a high voltage transformer under their dress, buzzing away. Wired to those 2 light sources that is in itself wired straight into mains 120 or whatever the mainline voltage was on that stage for power. So there are extension cords running to every girl.
Every single one.
All of them dancing. And then each girl has
moving around each other.
Moving around. And each one of those girls has a wire going to their respective light, because there's no way you could have had battery output that would have allowed you to do this.
Well, this is what I mean too about, like, he's not just choreographing the camera and the girls, but like all of the technology.
He's got to solve it all.
Yeah.
He's got to do it all. Yeah.
It is incredible.
I want these girls dancing in the dark with illuminated violins. All right, boss, well, you tell us how it's going to work. It's going to work like this.
Yeah. And that is, I'm sure there was a lot of figuring it out as oh, that creates a new problem. That creates a new problem. That creates a new problem.
I can relate.
And they're moving the camera in. If you keep going, you get into a face parade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
which is insane. It looks like a visual effect. Like it looks.
Yeah. I mean, and consider the fact that they were hot. You know, these aren't running cold.
It's a visual effect, but it looks like a computer generated visual effect.
Okay, this is our actual conclusion to the plot lines. See, he was fucking with him. He hired an actor to be the cop.
Yeah, but they had already had that conversation at the house.
What do you mean?
Where he asked her to marry him, and she said basically like, I told you before I wouldn't marry you.
You don't think he's kidding here with the pretend?
Oh, here he's kidding. Oh. There he was serious. He's already decided. And then you think, you don't know what he decided, right. I think. And then he comes into this scene and you're like, oh, still? You didn't decide to let it go? And then you realize that he's just fucking with him.
Yeah. He's brought in the pretend cop and everything. Okay, that's what I was disagreeing with before. I thought you were saying that in this scene, he was still going to do it until the very last minute.
Everyone kisses, but she doesn't kiss him.
I think it would just look bad on camera.
Oh no, I think she's in it for the money. He's gonna die in 10 years. She'll be well off. There you go. That's what I want. That's the sequel I want. The Trixie story. Once Trixie's got all the money, what does she do next?
Well, she puts on a show, of course.
Of course she does.
We have achieved Forgotten Man status. We are up to the number, the Forgotten Man. God, the curtain goes up and we immediately see this German expressionist setup here with the forced perspective and the looming backdrop of these skyscrapers, which is interesting because I've been watching, for research purposes, Berlin Portrait of a City, which is a 1923 picaresque silent documentary of the city of Berlin, one day of Berlin. And I was watching it for research on this Weimar Republic thing I want to do and how to drink, finding a lot of great B-roll. But I was struck by that lighting. The chiaroscuro girls, the faces with the neon on their faces, and thinking about how much that made me think of that documentary. And I do think, I almost said it then, but now I'm definitely going to say it now. I think that there's a lot of drawing from German Expressionism and that era of cinema here in these musicals, these in the Busby Berkley whole oeuvre, if you will, with the whole idea of like imagery, manipulation, and the abstract shape and form of the whole thing. I want to know from you, Meredith, the first time I saw this movie, when we got to this number, my jaw hit the fucking floor. Is that how it was for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was watching it and like, so you go from this big musical number with all of the tricks, all of the lights and showmanship and, then you have this very cheery wrap up, this joke of, everybody kisses at the end. It is very like Cole Porter, everyone's with their person, everything wraps up in a nice, neat bow. And then you just get slammed with this commentary. My immediate reaction to it was, okay, we've had a little fun, but like, shit's still fucking serious out there.
Did you know that in 1933 you could criticize America in a Hollywood movie like this?
Harsh.
You know what I mean? Like, this is nuts. And I got to point out too, I don't know if it was going on when this was produced or not, but I looked it up once. It's only a few months before the release of this movie that the events of the Bonus Army come to a head. Do you know that story in history?
So a little bit, but why don't? Yeah, what is it?
So the Bonus Army. Okay, so at the end of World War I, there's a lot of wrangling in Congress. A lot of people didn't like this idea, but some people did, and they said, "Okay, we're going to pay all returning soldiers a bonus payment in X number of years." Essentially, think about it like we're going to give you all a bond that will mature on this date.
You're investing in your service is an investment in the war effort,
right?
That will be repaid to you.
Not yet. It's coming, but not today.
Yeah.
Well, then in the interim, the Depression hits, and these guys are getting older, and they're like, I'm not going to see that money, and I kind of need it now. And there is a particular individual. I wish I could remember his name. He starts in California, and he starts organizing all of these veterans, broke Depression era, down on their luck veterans into bands, into units that are marching across America, riding trains and marching in formation all the way across America, and ultimately encamping in D.C.
Walter Waters, is that the name you're looking for?
It could be, yeah. I listened to a podcast about it, so it was a minute ago, and I don't remember his name, and if it was Walter Waters, so be it. They arrive, they encamp on the mall, they occupy buildings, and they want their bonus money now. They would like it today. And Herbert Hoover isn't having it. I just did an episode of How to Drink about the worst presidents in America, and I think that he probably should be third. He should be way the fuck up on the list.
Oh yeah, I mean, it felt like from that episode, he could be as high as number one.
If you throw out the guys who caused the Civil War, like just like they're throwing the curve. It can't get worse. I don't know, man. That guy's got to go way up the list. The shit he pulled. Which is weird because by all accounts, he seems like a very decent human outside of being a really shit president. Instead of coming up with the scratch to give these guys a payment, some kind of federal relief, he sicks the army on them. And Doug MacArthur orders his guys, Eisenhower and, if I'm not mistaken, Patton, to like cavalry charge them and gas them and like attack them and round them up and root them out of D.C.
Always a good look.
Always a good look when the government decides to open fire on its own soldiers. Always a good look. We love that.
Yeah, our veterans, some of which no doubt had been injured in the war.
Oh, yeah, dude. Guys crawling around on hands and knees and shit. And so, like less than a year later, this movie comes out with this number in it. I mean, what a middle fucking finger to the whole thing.
Yeah. The highest grossing, most popular movie of the year. And this is the same year as King Kong.
Right.
Huge.
Have you watched
huge
King
movie?
Kong?
It beats King Kong.
I hate King Kong.
I mean, but like King Kong, everyone knows what King Kong is. Not everyone knows what Gold Diggers is.
It's weird how that's the more enduring film. I know.
I mean, there's a giant gorilla in it.
I guess.
People just hadn't seen something like that before.
I'll take giant legs over giant gorillas any day. I also did not know that the Forgotten Man number is taken from Roosevelt's campaign promise to remember the Forgotten Man. That's apparently.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea that this movie was literally just like,
so
we endorse Roosevelt.
Yeah, the first time she says the word Forgotten Man, everyone knew exactly what she was referring to.
Yeah.
I also think like I more and more I'm like learning this, but like the stark difference between how people felt post World War I about the war and how people felt post World War II about the war. And you always hear, I don't
Different
know, in
wars.
history class. Well, they are, but also in history class, you kind of like learn that World War II, some people consider it a continuation of World War I. Sure. Like it never got resolved. The things that were going on never really concluded. And you feel that in this type of moment that like we went to war, it was awful, but we're not better off when nothing was resolved. And then at the end of World War II, you feel very differently from that.
World War I was purely the war of empires. It was really just down to like who is going to dominate Europe and the Middle East like as an empire, but like on the virtues of empire. And like it's a war of honor. Like it seems like it was fought by like Klingons essentially, and like so incredibly pointless and stupid. But like you had all these people fighting in this war who had zero stake in it. World War II is nothing like that.
You know now what we were fighting for in World War II. There's tons of stories about it. Like even if you are not a person who has done a deep dive on either of these wars, anyone that you run into, you can ask, what were we fighting in World War II? And they'll give you an answer. If you ask the same thing about World War I don't think you'll get an answer from most people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And I mean, like I said, I've been doing a lot of research on the whole Weimar. And so a lot of that you're going into the sentiment and causes of World War I from the German perspective. And that's, it's so hard to like, all right, we're going to go off the rails here for a minute, but just to briefly, I think that like, people, to some extent, when you read about history, you are reading about people who are just like you. They have the same wants and they have the same fears and stuff like that. But I also think in a very real extent, the minute you are talking about even very recent history. You are talking about people who lived in an utterly different dimension from the one in which you exist, a completely different set of realities that is unknowable to you in real terms. Like, and I think until you accept in doing this kind of like, you know, looking into this stuff that like, oh yeah, that is unknowable to me. It is not like now. None of my preconceptions about how the world works will hold true when I read about this place or time. And I can truly know nothing about what that life was like and what those people expected from life, what those people were dealing with from life. Can I really like assess or make any kind of judgments about this? Like, people in the Weimar Republic in the 1920s in Germany expected a level of political violence that you could not comprehend. You couldn't comprehend. Oh, well, there's a demonstration next week, so a few hundred people will die. That's acceptable. Oh, well, there's been 4 assassinations this week. That's acceptable. We can accept that. In reading about this, there's like a joke that I guess like Europe refers to England. Somebody in England makes a joke about Prussia, that Prussia isn't a country with an army, it's an army with a country. And to show the differences in like Prussia, which becomes the main part of unified Germany later on, the Prussians were like, correct. That's great. Like, they couldn't conceive of life a different way. And they were so militarized and so dedicated to like the honor of that military tradition that like war was a virtue. And you get into that, like when you start looking into the past, like there was a time when war was a virtue. It was how men became men. Without war, what was life? Without war, how could you know that you mattered? And like, that's what I'm saying is that, like, just on a base level, like you can't even wrap your head around that, like from a modern perspective, I think. I don't know.
Something about this number in the movie is it's like, you've got this movie, this sort of fun comedy, this
cynical,
lighthearted
fun comedy.
Cynical, yeah, but like, fun.
Oh yeah.
And then that wraps up, and this could be its whole own podcast just about this musical number.
Right.
And it doesn't peter out. Like, you're looking at it now and it's starting slow, but this musical number is huge.
It gets awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. And to think that it was all done on a soundstage as we run through it.
It leaves me pumped up to go fuck shit up. It's like 100 years later, 92 years later.
It was supposed to leave you pumped up to go vote for FDR.
I'm ready for change, I'll tell you that.
Hell yeah, man. They had on the stage built 2 huge treadmills, and he used these repeatedly in other movies because you couldn't like really move the camera. So actually everybody is marching in place without marching in place. It was cool. They're stepping but going nowhere, and so you can move the camera against that, and you could set these 2 treadmills up in opposition and have guys going this way or that way. What an awesome way to film this.
Also used in the stage performance of Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Okay.
A piano musical.
You've got the wounded coming back on one treadmill and the other guy's moving forward. Oh my God. Holy shit. People must have rioted. They must have come out of the theater screaming, carrying the wounded. Oh my God. Straight into bread lines.
Into the bread line.
At this point in history, the Communist Party in America had its highest level of membership. People were ready for change. As did the Fascist Party in America.
Yeah, right.
As did something called the Technocracy Incorporated, which is an insane political movement started by Elon Musk's grandfather.
I was going to say
that you should read about. You should read about the Technocracy Incorporated. It's very interesting that all of a sudden we want to annex Greenland. It's very interesting that we want to annex Greenland.
I thought we were going to get into that when we did Soylent Green.
Sure, we could talk about. Why would we talk? Oh, I don't remember why, but yeah.
You were gonna get. Yeah, we could roll back the tape on that, but that was your plan.
Hey, Carol, run tape. I don't know who Carol is. I just made her up. This scene, the arches.
I feel like is very recognizable to people.
I love the Works Public Art Deco vibes of this, with the bridge in the background, with the arches, the concentric arches, the rising sun, right? Like, that's a sunrise on a new day. If you could imagine that being on like you know, like the murals at Rockefeller Center. That would be the sunrise on a new day, lightning bolts in the background of it, you know, like they had, like, if you ever look into the history of those things, the murals around Rockefeller Center, because I find them fascinating, they invented gods of industry. Like a new pantheon for a new industry. And so that's what that is. Like, I think, like, I don't know. I love all that shit. That's so fucking cool to me. But I just love this imagery so fucking much.
Well,
it's
in the
so
music,
good.
the tone in the music is just completely different from the 3 previous numbers.
Oh, yeah. We're in a minor key.
Yeah.
It's a dirge. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. The sense of movement, the constant movement. It's just a close-up on her singing, but we've still got this movement, these people marching in the background. It's a country on the move. It is men on the move. It is people looking for something better. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm going too far. There's a sense of biblical art here. I mean, this is Renaissance, like fucking Sistine Chapel, not the Sistine Chapel, but like Michelangelo stuff with like a central focus point with all of your figures in like relief kind of pointing towards it. The halo, oh my God, it's so good. Look at her.
Yeah.
Look at my girl. Look at my girl. And the end. Get out of the theater. It's over. We're ending on that note. That's it. Goodbye. Good night. Good luck. Go outside and vote. Holy shit. That's like the best part about these movies. There's no credits. And I know obviously we need credits.
People need to get credit for work.
Yeah. They used to have credits at the beginning. That shifted in later, much later in Hollywood. You would get credits at the end. But like, yep, movie's over. Good night, folks. Bye. Curtain.
Bye.
Boom.
Yeah.
I love the finality of that. None of these movies slow fade out. They all just like end on the high note.
I wish I could go talk to somebody about this movie at the time it came out, because I wonder if there was like a group of people who felt sort of tricked into it. Like,
I don't know.
Was there a feeling of like, oh, I'm watching this fun comedy, and then they had to slap me with their political commentary? Like, were people pissed leaving the theater?
Some. I don't know.
Those liberal Hollywood elites always doing this at the end of their movies. And it's just the way that it's formatted. You've got the final number. You've got the cheery wrap up. You expect the credits to roll right there. Oh, we're rolling into another musical number. We're going to get a grand finale. And then it's just...
Sure do. Whip-pow. I love this movie, and we talked about it for forever. It is Gold Diggers of 33, which sounds, if you're not versed, it sounds like, oh, what a silly little movie that must be. Fuck you. It isn't. It's top 20 movies of all time. I mean, it's so good.
So to you, is this like the quintessential movie of Pre-Code?
It's a perfect...
Warner.
I love this movie as a intro to Pre-Code viewing because it is so enjoyable to watch out of the gate. And it gives you a bit of everything that Pre-Code had going on that post-Code movies didn't. And on top of that, I mean, like, as I said, it was enjoyable. You've got the Busby Berkley factor, but like you've got strong political messaging and criticism of the government. You've got frank assessments of the Depression and the conditions at the time. You've got self-assured women out in the world on their own without a chaperone in risque situations.
If not for the movie being in black and white, you could feel like you're watching something that was made now. As far as the women are treated, like, I know the language is different.
Oh yeah.
But I think people like buck against things that are black and white because it's gonna feel so old timey, and I can't relate to it, and it's boring. And they think of the stuff that was shot like filmed theater. Yeah. And then you watch something like this, and like I'm immediately thinking of the relationships between the girls on Broad City, like things that feel even much more modern, like the 90s. Yeah, sure. They are surviving without men, which is immediately like in their living space, which is they're not at home with their fathers. They're not at home with their families. Like these 3 girls,
they're a lot better off
when
they get those men together. Though, I will say.
I mean, they marry rich.
Dig against the film there on that one.
I'm not. That's not a commentary to say that they don't need, or that in society at that time they wouldn't be better off with.
I mean, everybody needs $1.
You don't see. Until like Sex and the City was groundbreaking because these women were friends. They didn't fight over the men in the show.
That's true.
They never date the same guy.
That's true.
And they're not competing against one another. They're not pitted against each other. Like, that is why that show is so groundbreaking.
That's true.
And here it is in 1933.
That's true.
It pisses me off a lot.
Yeah. That's a totally... Yeah, I mean, you think about how far backward society went.
Right. Like, you get Thelma and Louise, but, like, they're on a death mission at some point.
That's after 68. That's post-code, though. I mean, you're in New Hollywood
but
at that
I'm
point.
talking about before Sex and the City. Like,
Yeah.
But to get, like, just a comedy about women where it is truly about the women.
Yep. And society.
Yes.
And society. And letting those women carry that
Yeah,
weighty
and
message, but with levity.
Right, and you never switch over to the men are here now. They are the main characters. These women are the main characters throughout the entire movie.
Guy Kibbe, Warren William, and I guess Brad's in it quite a bit. But like for the most part, they're pretty background characters.
Well, and they're kind of like the silly, emotional people being tricked into falling in love.
That's an interesting point. They're to some extent, they would be a role reversal in that regard. I never considered that. They are the emotional ones. It was like when you pointed out, I think it was you that pointed out that like in the X-Files, it's interesting that Scully is the skeptic instead of the free thinker.
Right.
That's like a role reversal. That never would have occurred to me.
It has to be him. Like, if it's not him, you can't, like, I don't think people would if it was her, they wouldn't be able to take her seriously at all. She would be a total joke running through the whole show.
You're right.
I do think because it's him.
I mean, he's kind of a joke running through the show too, though.
He is,
he's always very goofy.
But you also buy into he's really good at what he does.
Yeah.
Like, he's a little off, but boy, is he the best detective in the world.
I wish they had stuck with that because they really drive that home in like the first season and a half that like, don't forget, he is the best criminal profiler the FBI has ever had. And the only reason they keep him on is because they keep hoping he'll come back to regular work.
Yeah.
He's also that guy. I really wish they hadn't dropped that.
Here's what it is. She would have had a lot harder time convincing the audience that maybe it is aliens than he does.
There it is. Yes, that is it. You nailed it
Yeah.
there. Thank you. That's perfect. God damn it, this movie's great. So we're too into your tour of the pre-code world. What do you think? You want to go back? You ready to go back?
To what time? To now?
To 1933? You ready to go back?
Oh, I mean, it definitely has changed my opinion on what points in history I would want to go revisit.
Yeah. Can you manage a mid-Atlantic allocution? What are we doing on this next? We're doing not
I don't
Footlight
know.
Parade.
We got to talk about
you said
it.
you want to
Babyface.
You want to rewatch Babyface though before you do
now that. Because we watched this one right after. I feel like after talking about this one, if I don't rewatch that one, I'm gonna like mix things together a little bit.
Yeah. Not a musical, very dark.
Not a musical, much darker. Yeah, I know that once I watch it, I'll be like, oh, okay, this is why it's so different. But it's like, I don't know, the feelings of these two movies have gotten mixed together for me somehow. And I want to make Babyface like a comedy in my head. And I know that it wasn't.
As many times as I've seen these movies, I always mix up Gold Diggers and Footlight and 42nd Street because a lot of them is a little bit interchangeable. But I'll never forget that Forgotten Man is in Gold Diggers.
Yeah.
Wait till you see Footlight Parade because it's Public Enemy and Gold Diggers of 33 together. You're gonna shit your pants.
Maybe that is what we should watch next with that endorsement. I feel like that's got to be the next one we do.
It's got it all, baby.
All right. This has been Midnight Local.
The podcast about nothing.
The podcast where we just kind of talk until a point comes up. And then, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you get your podcasts.